everybody. So I got my package. You know what it is? This is my first white flag. Happy International White Month, y'all. Oh, upside down, I think. There we go. Woo. Awesome. I love it. So I got this flag because, I thought it would be good for me to do with the video. Maybe I need to just do this. Now, besides showing you guys the flag, as you can probably tell from the title of this video that this is my coming out story. For those of you who knew me before I came out, and if you didn't know, I actually did post a social post. It's kind of like a coming out post on my Facebook back in 2015. I wrote it in English, so I don't know if everybody actually got the message. But this time I'm actually translating as well this into Chinese, and so this is almost like my second time coming out. And kind of a big deal because English has always been my escape, and so it's a this is gonna be a little weird for me, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So let's start with the story. When I first realized that I have reactions or feelings for boys or men was when I was about 5th grade, 10 years old. And back then, I was in school. In Taiwan, at least, this is what happens. Like, people actually rumor, oh, this boy likes this girl and this girl likes this boy, but there's no relationship or anything. Like, you won't have boyfriends or girlfriends when you're in elementary school in Taiwan, at least not when I was in school. And so there was the rumor, and I did like the girl a lot. We were friends, but at the same time, I couldn't find myself to have any physical reactions. But at the same time too, I was having physical reactions to boys or guys. And so I was super confused. I was like, what the heck is going on here? Like, why can't I be normal? I'm just such a weirdo. I really did not like it, and I was really confused too. And I was actually praying it to go away. Praying so hard, every night I'll be like, let's try this again. See if I can have any physical reaction. And so that happened for months. Then we graduated and nothing happened. And then it comes junior high school and same thing happened again. I was with this girl in our Chinese music band, and we liked each other, we hang out a lot, and she's really a good friend of mine. I actually did tell her afterwards. But coming back to the story, I didn't have any physical reactions to her either. And that was frustrating me so bad. At the same time, I kind of was craving relationships as well, but I didn't want to reach out. We didn't do anything. I never had any intimacy with her, and and I chose not to because I didn't want to get anybody hurt. I didn't want to hurt her feelings or anything. And at the time, that confusion kept going on. When I hit 2nd grade of junior high school, that's when I was about 14 years old, my dad started getting really sick, and my mom was away with him for months at a time. And during the time that they were away, I was alone by myself in the house a lot. My brothers, they hang out a lot more together. I have my own interests. I loved studying English, and so I watched a lot of movies. I was online a lot. And because I have separate interests and also that confusion, I alienated myself from my brothers, my family, or classmates. Everything was kept in. I tried to keep everything in as a secret. And I really, really hated myself back then. I remember keeping a journal all in English because I was very much loving English back then. And I didn't want anybody to know my thoughts. So I still have that. I think I still have that book, a little diary at home, and I was writing in cursive English. I was practicing and trying to hide it. And it probably will be really depressing if I were to read that book, because it's about like, why am I living? And if you know Chinese culture, I'm the oldest son, and so that itself carries a lot of weight, because culturally I was taught that, the first son is the one that carries on the family heritage. But then at the same time, I was having these weird feelings. I didn't want to hurt anybody. I remember back then I will just lay in bed imagining all of the horrible things that people are going to find out if I'm gay. I would cry myself to sleep. It was a torment. And there was nobody for me to talk to. Not someone who I knew that was also gay, or like, there was no way for me to express my feelings or ask about my doubts. The popular media was also not broadcasting anything about that. I was also into this band called Westlife. It's a European English Irish band. My piano teacher introduced them to me. And so I was going onto their chat room and talk about their music and practice my English at the same time. So when we were in the chat room, we would like make introductions and connect on our personal private MSN messaging. Because I was confused, I was like trying to see like what other options or what other things I could try. I met this girl from the internet, from that chat room. Sexy Lexi was her name, and I don't even know who she is. I remember she was from England. That was just something that I was going through, that I was trying to experiment and see if I can get any reactions, and we're having cyber sex. I was so innocent. I asked my English teacher what cyber sex was, and I remember her reaction was, she had a second of like shock, and then she came down, and I think she like smiled, and she was like, breaking down the word, like cyber means this, but I remember asking her that question, and that's what I was doing. I was having cyber sex messages with her, Sexy Lexi, that I met online. But of course, I was trying so hard to be normal. I was trying so hard, but nothing happened. Because I was surfing online for so long, I actually kind of found my way into gay porn. And I know I was 14 years old, and judge all you want, but that was actually the time when I found out that I had clarity, like, this is turning me on. Like, I was less confused, more sure about liking guys. I don't know how other people find out about their sexuality, but that's the way I did it. Because of that realization, I started like downloading pictures. I even found this magazine subscription. It's more like a catalog subscription from my dad has. And then I saw like underwear models in there. I was like, I loved it, and I just like printed out all of the pictures that I had, and I was like putting them under my pillow, and I kept exploring my sexuality. I do remember that before junior high school, I told one of my friends that I could potentially be gay. That's what I said. I could potentially be gay, because I wasn't sure, and I was hoping that it would go away. And she was really kind. She actually told me that she had the same experience. She was experimenting with other girls, and she had a short face too, but it didn't work for her. So she was very supportive, and I also be like, yeah, don't tell anybody. And it was also because we were graduating. I was like, I'm gonna try to tell someone, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But because we graduated, we never really saw each other again until we connected on Facebook. But she was the first one that I told. And now going into high school, my dad passed away when I was in the second semester. I was still a freshman, and I was very sad when he passed away, but I was also very relieved that I didn't have to tell him. I felt very guilty for feeling relieved for a long time. It was just a lot of pressure, and I felt like if I had to tell him, you know, I might have to face whatever rage there might be. I feel lucky, but I also don't feel lucky because I don't have my dad anymore. So it's a very, very conflicted feeling. So after that, I have been very closed off through high school. I put a wall up. I made friends in the class, but I didn't consider myself having like close friends. You know, I have a group of high school friends that I really like, and we're hanging out. But I didn't back then think that I had a close friend because I kept my distance with everybody. People who sees me now and sees me back then, like they probably had that dissonance. But because I was more sure about myself back then, I was counting down the time to come out, and I told myself I need to be financially stable before I do. And so I was looking at like 27 because I was counting in like, you know, all the grad school that I want to go to. I was being very patient. I was waiting for my time to come. And so that was just me in a waiting mode. But I also shut the world off. And so like the memory of my high school, it's almost blurry, but then like there are certain events that I will remember, but also like it was a struggle in high school. Now I got into college and I met my friend Christina. With Christina, I told her about everything. My freshman year, she was the very first person. I loved her so much. I poured my heart out to her, and she's always very supportive. And you know, like I finally at that point felt like I had an outlet. I could share this with someone who will understand me, who will love me for who I am. I mean, other people probably would have to, but I didn't. Like there was this wall, and there was just this uncertainty that I have in myself. And so, you know, Christina was the first person. And after that, like because of that experience, I like start telling people one-on-one at very limited basis. And so there are certain very, very hand-picked friends through the time that I actually told that were straight, but it has not been like a full-on, well, hey, I'm gay. And my family didn't know. Eventually I told my cousin, my second aunt, and she also was very supportive, and she loved me for who I am. And she was the first family member too that I was like testing. So eventually, like in the whole process, I was like testing one by one before I go out like full blown. Now fast forward to 2015, America passed its gay marriage law on the federal level. It was a huge milestone for the LGBT community. I was also full on living with Dan at that point, hanging out with all of our gay friends. I was feeling more comfortable with myself, and because of that, I was like, okay, I think this would be the time for me to tell my mom. So I invited her to come visit me in the States, and I remember telling Dan like, well, now I have to come out to my mom. And he was like, are you ready? And I remember telling myself that I need to keep my walls up. So if shit goes sideways, then at least I'm ready, mentally prepared for it. I mean, with all of the horror story that we hear in the gay community, that's what I was preparing myself for. So in preparation of me telling her, I actually we set a time for us to hop on Skype. And she's like, so what is it so important that we're setting a time for this? Because normally we don't. I would just call her, and then if she picks up, she picks up. But for that one, I was like, I needed to tell her before she comes, just in case, you know, if she doesn't want to come after I told her. And I remember when we first started the conversation, she asked like, so what's so important? And I said, well, I have to tell you something. I like boys, and I intentionally did not say that I'm gay, like, just because I didn't want the word, but I'm gay, like, you know, I feel comfortable saying it now. Back then it was still something new and I didn't want the label. I want people to know me first. And I said, my landlord, which is what I always say to her, oh, I'm hanging out with my landlord, da da da. My landlord actually is not my landlord, and we've been dating for a long time. And she heard me, and she, you know, she paused for a quick sec, and then she slowly replied and said, you know, I don't care about it. I can accept it. And I had a feeling that you were going to tell me about it. But I think that to a certain degree, she was thinking that it was just a phase. So she wasn't 100% sure. She just knew that I have never dated a woman. I've never talked about like wanting to get married, or, you know, like since I hit puberty or for a long time. And so I know that she was trying to wrap her head around and trying to find the best way to say it, but I appreciate it. And then she asked me some stuff and we discussed a little bit, and she's like, oh, why did you decide to tell me before the trip? And then of course I tell her, well, so that you have the option of not coming in. But anyway, she came and we had a great time. And before she arrived, she actually did tell my brothers. Now, after I told her, I also felt more comfortable, and I was like, well, it's time for me to just come out. And so that's when I decided to post on my Facebook. And when people asked me about it, I was also more transparent too. That was a transition point, because before I was ready, I would make up stories to cover for myself and protect myself, because who knows that if I were to open up about myself, what kind of retaliation or potential harm can be done to me. And so, like, it really took me a long time to feel more comfortable. I mean, after all of us just want normalcy. All of us just want to be treated like a person, not a gay person. Like, there shouldn't be a difference. To close the video, I hope that by telling my story, it helps you understand what our community members might go through. I know my story is not unique, but hopefully it provides some perspective for those of you who might suspect someone as one of the LGBTQ community members. Just be patient with them, and at the same time learn more about the topic, right? Especially because now I think people get really confused with sexual orientation and gender identity, and I think like it will be helpful for anyone to know more about this topic. If you are one of the members in the community and you're not out yet, give yourself time. But I would say definitely try to live your truth and make sure you're ready. And I love you no matter what. So that's it for today. It's a long story, and thank you guys so much for staying with me until the end. I appreciate you. Happy International Pride Month. I love you all, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.